So in this video, we're going to go over a engine oil cooler or heat exchanger that I had to replace on a Mercedes-Benz GLC63 as the 4-liter V8. So that's the oil cooler there, a new gasket, and I'll kind of show you what's going on the car side. So the engine has been removed with the subframe, transmission, everything attached to it, and I've got everything out of the way so you can see where the oil cooler would be sitting in the block, right in here. And there's really just no access to it in the car. There's an engine bracket and engine mount that sit right in the way, and then there's also a frame rail that sits right above the subframe right in here. So there's just basically no access to gain to get it to where we need to go. So engine has to come out for the workbook instructions, and then the engine's actually lifted off of the subframe a little bit to get to take the weight off that engine mount. So you can see the cherry picker pulling up on the engine, and then the table is underneath it to support the weight of the subframe from the bottom. So here's some of the miscellaneous bolts and trying to stay organized. So kind of each bucket has one step of parts with it. So there's suspension there at the bottom, and some other miscellaneous bracket bolts. It's radiator bolts from the top side, starter, some other bracketry. Anyways, this is the fully assembled back together. So the engine bracket's back in, and engine mounts back in. Oil cooler line, coolant line are back over the top of it, and then way back in the back you can see the oil cooler there. So it's a really tight fit, and as you can see, that's still no access. So here's the subframe and engine going back in the car. I'm lifting the table back up. So there's some cool time-lapse video here. I've also, when I do these, I really enjoy watching just kind of how much other activities happening inside the shop, of just people going or driving in and out of the shop and other people walking by and stuff like that. But anyways, here's the install of the subframe going in, and I'll let you enjoy the rest of the video. And keep in mind, this is what I do every day. Obviously not to the extent, but you know, I get people that ask me about my Coyote swap and ask me how hard it was, and I'm like, you know, I work on cars every day, so I'm not your best judge of your normal everyday mechanic at home being able to do something like this. So, you know, this is obviously not a car I've never done this job before. Probably will never do this job again. But this is, you know, this is the type of stuff that I am capable of doing at work on a regular basis as needed. So keep that in mind. As I get towards the end here, I'm putting the suspension back in it enough that I can get the car to a state where we can run it. So, you know, I didn't want to put the car completely back together. This is actually a repair that, you know, you don't want to put all the way back together and then find out you still have something leaking on the oil or coolant side of it. So wanted to get it back together enough that we can check and make sure that we don't have any issues with it. And then we'll finally put it all the way back together. I got some buckets emptied here. We'll work on getting the rest of those other parts put back on the car. Got tools everywhere. I still got all the heavy equipment I got to put away, and then I got to put the rest of the plastic stuff back on the car. Got some harnesses put on the car. We'll get to it in the morning.